are now tuned in to United Football Media. Tell me about it, the number one wraparound show about the number one spring football league, the UFL, brought to you by the number one spring football media group, United Football Media. We are the DAR crew. I am Eric, played center for many years. That's why I'm out here adjusting our protections, lining up the huddle. I got my guy, Tay, one of the hottest up-and-comers on sports TikTok. I got a former color analyst, color commentator, and sports writer, True God, and the coach and sports writer, the X-Man, Jeff Axel. We are all here for United Football Media. Tell me about it. Gentlemen, we got some games finally. We got some previews of some games to go down next weekend. Opening weekend is finally almost upon us. But real quick, I want to answer a question we had in our comments because we read them. We love to reach out, love to touch back. Very, very grateful, thankful for all the support that we've gotten so far, all of the warm welcomes that we've gotten to the media group. Glad you guys are enjoying the content. We had somebody ask, last week we talked some about the sports gambling, the gambling lines, and we were using terms like plus 1,500, plus 250, minus 250, and we had somebody ask, well, what do those mean? And we should have said something because, man, if you're not into the sports gambling world, that stuff can sound, like an alien language. So real quick, of the most basic way I can explain it is the plus side are underdog lines, which is if you bet them, you get more of a return back for your money. So on the plus side, the higher the number goes, the bigger bonus you get back from your bet. So put down $10 plus 1,000, you get a whole bunch back. You get 100 back. If you're on the minus side, that's a favorite line. And then therefore, so since you're picking the favorite and you're not taking as much of a risk, you get less money back. You still get some back, but it's a very small amount added to the original amount that you bet. So if it's plus, the higher the number, the bigger the risk, the more reward back. Then minus, the favorite, the less risk. That's what they say anyways, but often you will find those minus ones will be the ones that bring you down. The minus, the higher the number goes, the less you get back because it's more of a favorite. So hope that wraps that up when we talk about plus, minus. That's why, as we said, plus 1,500. Now, believe I saw on DraftKings for San Antonio Brahmas for the championship, to me, is amazing. Because that's $150 back on a $10 bet if they win the championship. And it goes up from there. Obviously, just keep adding the zeros as you add to your bet. That, to me, is some amazing odds. Our guy from the Brahma bullpen was fully supporting, fully encouraging us to make that bet, despite Tay's slander on those Brahmas last week. Man doesn't want to throw away his money. All right. This week, we've got games to preview, and we are so pumped to be moving in to the season. We're going to jump right in. The season opener, champion versus champion. Birmingham Stallions against the Arlington Renegades. It is in Arlington, 1 o'clock Eastern Saturday. My opinion, we've talked about this before. I think the continuity is going to be what makes the difference here. I think everybody's way underselling the Renegades and the amount of talent that they have. I think the Stallions are loaded too, but I think the more advanced time that Luis Perez has had in the Bob Stoops offense for the Renegades is going to be what makes the difference and what's going to lift them in this opening week. Now, if this game got played again in week 8, in week 9, in week 10, I might have to make a different pick because by then the Stallions will be fully rolling in and comfortable in the systems on both sides of the ball. But opening week, I think the continuity is going to carry the day. And I think the Renegades are going to pull off what many perceive to be a possible upset. Axe, your thoughts.
It's going to be a competitive, high-scoring game, in my opinion. I don't know. I think the Stallions might make a statement. I know we're high on the Renegades, heavy, but I don't know if Matt Corral wins the starting job. It's between him and Jamar Smith. From the reports I've been reading, they haven't announced the QB1 yet, but I don't know. I think Deion Kane makes a statement because last year's championship game he had 3 touchdowns, so I think he carries that momentum into this season as wide receiver number 1. I think it'll be a competitive game. Like if I was to have a prediction, I would say maybe around a 35 to 25 type of game, and Birmingham wins. I think they make a statement. It'll be high scoring, but I think Birmingham stands out and makes a statement.
Tay, what do you got? Renegades, Stallions. I think both of us have been the most bullish on the Renegades. So are you rolling with me with this possible upset, week 1 upset victory?
Yes, I am. I'm going with the home team this game. I think Luis Perez, like I said, I think he's early MVP candidate. I'm gonna continue to say it. Yeah, I do agree about the score though. Like that's kind of what I was thinking. Like I do see it combine at least 50 points in this game. Like it'll be back and forth. Not really a defensive game, which is fine. I feel like that's more entertaining. So I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with teams scoring 30 and whatnot. But yeah, I think a lot of teams, a lot of the favorites week 1, just in general, they come out flat, super confident. I think our team will get it done as the underdog, I would say.
So if any of you out there are doing sports betting and you see over under a 50, Tay thinks it's going over 50 total. So we'll see where they set that line out. I don't believe game lines have quite come out yet, but we'll be looking for it. True. Down here shaking your head already.
Well,
Stallions, Renegades.
Well, for one, I think, and this is a prediction on the betting lines, I think the over is probably going to be set at like 48.5. I'm just over under is going to probably be at 48.5. I think it'll go over. I agree with Tay, and I agree with Ax. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. From the start of I guess the training camp, I was kind of just high on the Stallions. So it's hard for me to go against the Stallions in this. And honestly, for the sake of this argument, I'm not gonna go against the Stallions because we got 2 for the Renegades. So I'm gonna ride with the Axeman, and I'm gonna go with the Stallions. I just think Birmingham has the best team in general. I've kind of been saying that since we started. So I'm not gonna deviate from that, but I do think it'll be a high scoring game. I can't wait to see what the lines look like because, not that we're important, not that we're super important here, United Football Media, in terms of what the UFL does, and the sports books do. But if we see anything over 50 as a start point, I feel like we have something to do with it. I feel like we have something to do with it. So I'm going to go with the Stallions.
Up next, it'll be Saturday at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. St. Louis Battlehawks at the Michigan Panthers. A lot of us, if you look at this United Football Media power rankings that just come out, I'm sure a lot of votes in a lot of places, the total, it probably is going to end up being something like St. Louis at the top and Michigan at the bottom. So this could be an extreme mismatch going into this opening week. The tickets for this game have sold shockingly well. I am stunned because I've been in behind closed doors talking in our group chats in the United Football Media, our Slack channel, about it shocked me how long it took to get single game tickets on sale for these Michigan Panthers games, since it was put into the week 1 slot. And in my face, these tickets have sold very well. Pretty much the whole league is looking really good for attendance this week. Pretty much every stadium it looks like it's going to have the majority of the lower bowl filled for most of the games, especially the San Antonio Brahmas. Look like they're going to pretty much fill the majority of the lower bowl. So that's awesome, and I'm surprised and pleasantly surprised by how that went for the Michigan Panthers. Hopefully it continues. I don't know if the big home crowd is going to have a whole lot of fun this week because, man, on paper, it appears to be a pretty big talent mismatch. Axe, tell us your thoughts.
St. Louis, as we mentioned in earlier episodes, definitely believe in AJ McCarron, Hakeem Butler, Wayne Gallman at the running back. I think they make a statement here, win by double digits, probably about like a 17-point win. Breland Speaks is going to have an impact on defense, though. Like, he's definitely going to be disruptive against St. Louis, but I don't know. I'm just not really convinced that Michigan has offense to keep up, because I'm reading reports from camp that it's between Brian Lewerke and Danny Etling for the quarterback position. They do have Trey Quinn coming back, who did have 554 yards and 5 touchdowns on 37 receptions last year. So they have him coming back. They got Devin Gray that came over. Jordan Sewell came over from Philadelphia. So they have good receivers, but I'm not sure who's going to be their quarterback. So because of that, I'm not sure they have the firepower.
Sometimes with a high powered, almost kind of a finesse offense, and you have such big expectations for an offense to move the ball so well, sometimes when those defensive playmakers start getting in there and wrecking stuff, it takes less chemistry, it takes less time to get your defense cooking than it does your offense in sync. So maybe this Panther squad can knock them a little bit off balance early and keep it close going into the second half, give themselves a chance. That's a great point on Breland Speaks and some of the other defensive playmakers that they have on that squad. Mike Nolan cooking up the game plan. Who knows? Tay, what do you think?
Well, I think Michigan will keep it close. I don't have them beating St. Louis. But I think Michigan can keep it competitive at least. Most people would probably have a double-digit game, but no, I would say it'd be pretty close. Like I'd give you like 28-21, something in that area. Like I would say it'd be pretty close, one score game. And plus, where's the championship played at? It's in St. Louis, right? It's just destined for them to go to the championship. So I'm rolling with St. Louis.
There we go. Okay, we'll keep it at that. Yeah. True. You've been down there grinning the whole way. People trying to figure out reasons to possibly give Michigan a shot here.
Don't
what are your thoughts?
Don't give Michigan anything. I think the reason why everybody has had Michigan at the bottom of their board for the rankings is because we see the deficiencies that they have on offense. We see that they have, a couple of defensive pieces that could, give teams a little bit of trouble, but it just you just feel like starting off against an offense like the Battlehawks, going against St. Louis in general, like St. Louis is very high at everybody's ranking. Now, once again, this is where sports betting comes in every now and then. The spread, the over, the under in games. Sometimes, coincidentally, little things happen to where teams keep it a lot closer than you expect, or the spread could be Michigan plus 12.5 or something like that, and then they don't, they have a close game, or they get blown out and you don't cover the spread. So I don't want to say it's going to be a complete blowout. I just don't think there's any way Michigan wins. I think it'll definitely be more than a one-score game. Maybe like a 34-21 type of deal.
Okay.
But there's also the possibility of like a 40 to like 10 game. That's always a possibility, just because Michigan's offense is not strong to me. So I don't see them having a strong offense. And the name of the game, you got to go score some points. So even if your defense rattles them a little bit, you got to get it done on the other end too. So don't see Michigan making it much of a game, but I'm not gonna outright say you're gonna get blown out by like 3 touchdowns or like 30 points. But don't see it being super competitive. Maybe that first half, but no.
So right, we all pay homage to the defensive playmakers that Michigan has on that side of the ball, and Mike Nolan's solid defensive mind. However, the thing is if your offense keeps going 3 and out, if they keep getting turnovers, if they keep, not moving the ball and keep putting the defense back out there, eventually the defense is going to break. Eventually, St. Louis is going to get in rhythm. So, yeah, I think I agree. We could see something fairly nip tuck in the first half, and then St. Louis pulling away with it in the second half. So we'll be looking for that. Day 2 is going to be the DC Defenders against the San Antonio Brahmas. That's going to be on Sunday, March 31st, noon Eastern, down in San Antonio, in the Dome, in the Brahma bullpen herself. That's going to be very, very interesting, because I think the Brahmas are going to enjoy, especially at the beginning, one of the better home field advantages that we're going to see in this league. We're going to see how this loaded defensive squad reacts to this air raid offense that the San Antonio Brahmas are going to be using. There's talent on San Antonio. There is, and that crowd is going to be rocking. It's going to be interesting, especially if one of those guys who they have to now lean on for DC at the running game, if they get in, if they're nervous, if they fumble, if something crazy happens, I think this game could be a ton of fun. Very, very interesting. I think DC is talented enough to go in there and pull it off, but this is a very, very dangerous place to be in week 1 for the DC Defenders. What do you think their acts?
I think it'd be a good game, but I think the DC Defenders have a little bit too much talent for San Antonio, in my opinion. And San Antonio kind of has an unknown quarterback situation going on with Quentin Normandy. He's expected to be QB1. I'm not too familiar. Maybe he surprises us. I'm also intrigued by Washington's running back situation, because they signed a running back, Zakir White, if I'm not mistaken, and 2 days later they released him.
Yeah. So Zakir White.
So I'm assuming Cameron Harris stepped up and asserted himself as running back 1 in the absence of Abram Smith.
Quentin Normandy, so he has some athletic ability, did some interesting things, dual pass and run threat last year. I just don't know if it's enough for a squad to base their system and their fortunes upon him. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't know if he has enough in the tank to be that guy for a team like that and make it work. But we are going to see. San Antonio could be very, very interesting between the venue they play in, the fast track that they play on. That offense could be a surprise, because the defense is going to be right with Wade Phillips involved. Tay, thoughts on this DC Defenders San Antonio Brahmas tilt on Sunday morning?
I think I'm gonna go with San Antonio this game. I think I'll take the underdog this game. I just got some kind of feeling, DC is a great team. I think they'll definitely have a great season, but they'll be upset this week. I'll definitely have San Antonio winning this game, despite the QB room. I mean, that defense is pretty good, and I think that could stop their offense. They still don't have their running back.
Jordan Tiamu got something to say about that. I understand his running back got hurt. He was in running offensive player of the year. So
that's true. Yeah. Oh yeah. I think they're a great team, but great teams lose games, right?
Anybody
here? This is the time. But better off losing earlier than later, and I think they're going to protect home field. I believe in home field advantage, like Eric was saying. So yeah, I'm rocking with the San Antonio this week.
Okay, so we got 2 DCs, we got 1 San Antonio. True, you look like you got thoughts.
Definitely not agreeing with Tay on this. So
it's our first Tay's take of the season.
Yeah, we just getting warmed up. It's a long season ahead. I will say I think this will be the game of the week. Personally, I think you're gonna see 2 defenses kind of show out and show what they can do. So I think it's gonna be a fun game, especially if you like seeing that hard hitting, those 3 and outs. I think it's going to be one of those games. I'm still not going to pick San Antonio, but I will say I do see that stadium rocking. I do see the home field advantage being a big important role for the first half, and I think DC is going to start to pull away, but it might come down to last possession. I could see that being a thing here, but I just don't see San Antonio having enough to cross that finish line and win. They can keep it close, and it'll be exciting. I think I really feel like there's a big push amongst the UFL in general to kind of get because San Antonio was at the bottom of most boards. We just talked about it last week. So I think there's a push to kind of get them a little bit, people starting to take them even more serious, and they're right. So they just need a little more offense, and I would start to believe in them a little bit more. So I think like I said, they'll make it competitive, and I think this will be the game of the week. That and Birmingham and Arlington will be the two best games I think out of the 4. But I'm excited about this one. I'm still gonna go DC. Probably one score. About one score.
Our last game of the week on Sunday afternoon, it's going to be the Memphis Showboats at the Houston Roughnecks. A quick side note, we said on the pilot episode or the first episode, we asked about, if Jarrett Garantano, if he ended up being the starter for the Roughnecks, it would be interesting. It could be a spark. It could be an unknown. His background, again, for those who you don't know, he was extremely highly touted quarterback out of high school. 4-star recruit, a ton of hype behind him, ended up signing with the University of Tennessee. He signed his letter of intent in Times Square because he's from that area. Was a big-time recruit coming out of high school. Never quite developed into the star that they thought he was going to be at Tennessee. Ends up in the UFL, is now, and I said, that ceiling, that unknown, that possible fulfillment of that potential everyone thought he had coming out of high school, that might be happening if he can crack the starting lineup. And last week, he was named the starting quarterback by the Roughnecks head coach. So that interests me a lot for this game coming up and for the potential of the Houston Roughnecks. Of course, we know our guy Brandon. He's all over us, all over this the boats, the Showboats, and we're gonna get them rolling that DiFilippo offense with old Case Cookus out there, right up there among the favorites for MVP of the league. This game, I think, could be real interesting. I'm excited to see what we're going to get out of a refreshed, some hope, I think, for this Roughnecks offense. What do you think, Axe?
As far as the Roughnecks are concerned, I'm definitely intrigued by their receiving core. Justin Hall, 513 yards, 4 touchdowns last season. He was on the all USFL team. And then they also have Anthony Ratliff Williams. He averaged 17 yards per catch. And just to have that type of deep threat, and then Isaiah Henney, who, when he was on the Pittsburgh Maulers last season, had 650 yards and 7 touchdowns. So they just have a lot of quality receivers. I expect a high-scoring game for the most part. As far as the Memphis Showboats are concerned, Mr. Vontae Diggs, he wasn't thrilled with some of our rankings earlier. He said we need to stop sleeping on the Memphis Showboats. So we will be watching you guys this weekend.
Yeah.
He said Votto and other players that's on the squad, Daywood, he said we need to stop sleeping on them. So we will be watching with the magnifying glasses this weekend. We hope Case Cookus, does his thing. We hope it's a high-scoring competitive game. I believe Houston wins, but I got my eye on Memphis because Mr. Diggs, he definitely said we need to stop sleeping on the offense. He said
so. You're going with Houston.
Yes.
Oh, all right. For the record, I'm picking the Boats. I'm going Boats Yacht Club. Get me a ticket on there. Brandon will hit you up for that. I'm going Boats. Hey, Showboats and Roughnecks.
All right. So if you asked me a week ago, I wouldn't have went with the Showboats. But,
oh no,
I sat there, thought about it, looked in the mirror, and said, "You know what? We are sleeping on Memphis a little bit. I'm going with the Showboats. I'm definitely going with the Showboats. Case Cookers, he'll have a great showing week 1. They'll get it done on the road. Yeah, they'll get it done on the road in Houston. Houston's a great team. They have some great playmakers, but I'm still kind of iffy on the quarterback situation right now. Like I need to see it to believe it first. You know, they do have the playmakers for it, but the playmakers have to get the ball thrown to them. So that's my only thing. That's why I'm not going with Houston. So yeah, I'm going with Memphis.
Okay. We got 2 Memphis, 1 for Houston. True. What do we got here?
Let's even the score. Let's even it up because there's no way in the world. And shout out to Brandon, obviously. No way I'm picking the Bolts. That's just. I don't think I'm gonna ever pick the Bolts to win a game this season until they play the Panthers. So that's gonna be it. But I just think Houston. Look, Houston is just, I think, slightly stronger. I think this is probably the closest matched game in terms of like talent and what they could do. And I think they were both in the middle of all of our rankings, right? So like we didn't have any of these teams like super high or super low. And I think that right there kind of shows you how it's a coin flip. And because of the fact, I'm going to lean towards, home field advantage here and give it to Houston. Like I said, it could go either way. I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be a great defensive game, in my opinion, but I think it'll probably be high scoring. And I think it'll be high scoring in not the worst way possible, but just not as I think as fun as I think some of the other games are going to be. So this is the one that I was kind of looking forward to the least out of all the games so far. Obviously, the St. Louis and Michigan game too. I'm not really looking forward to that because I feel like it's not going to be super competitive. But I think this will be a competitive game. I just think Houston will pull it out. I think Houston knows how to win.
Well, what interests me here is, you have, like we said, you have the ceiling, you have the potential of the Houston quarterback situation, those playmakers, and then you talk about how you don't think there's going to be a whole bunch of defense, but we have to remember, fully healthy, fully locked in, they got that bad man Reuben Foster out there patrolling the middle of the field for the Houston Roughnecks. So that makes me very, very interested to see if maybe, it's a close game. If Garantano can show up and do some things, if it's a close game, maybe that playmaker on defense is what ends up getting the job done, ends up getting a fumble, ends up getting an interception. These week 1 games can be very, kind of sloppy. Some crazy stuff could happen. So you go out there with this shiny offense with the perfect fit quarterback in Case Cookers, and then things are not quite in sync, and you got a guy like Reuben Foster running around staking people's spines to their core. Who knows what could end up going down for this Houston team, getting them in there. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Tell Me About It. Remember to keep checking United Football Media's YouTube page. We have correspondents covering every single team in the league, getting you up to date on the individual things going on with each squad. Check the media site. We've got fantasy football. We've got various guests going on our show, polar opposite, doing debates about ongoing things going on in the league. No one out there is doing it like United Football Media. This has been United Football Media. Tell me about it.